Hello and welcome to the Vent Sesh. I'm Jared Freed. We're here every Friday with two real people, two real problems. We talk it out. We try to figure out some sort of solution or what to do next. If you're a fan of what's going on here, I appreciate you coming back here week after week. If you have a question that you want to talk out on the Vent Sesh, send it in. jtrainpodcast@gmail.com. That's jtrainpodcast@gmail.com. Title it Vent Sesh so we know to reach out to you so we can get through to you and see if we can bring you on. But we have a great episode today. We got two fantastic guests with two real listen, I'm here just talking through this with them as a non-biased, an unbiased third party. I don't know. I'm just some guy. So if you have some thoughts on the situations, comment below. Let us know what you think they should do, or if you have a similar situation, write in the comments. This is about commiseration because I'm no expert. I'm just some dude with a pen in his hand and a camera on his laptop. I don't even know how to say laptop. So send your issues, keep commenting, and subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscription button, hit the bell so you can get updates anytime I update. I'm only updating once a day, pretty much, on weekdays. You got a lunch break. This is something for you to do. Take your brain, put it on the shelf. So today's episode, we have a guy using fitness to flirt, and another person is asking whether they are giving off no kids vibes. So let's get into it. Let's bring on our first guest, Katie from Cincinnati. Come on out.
Hello, Jared.
Hi, Katie. How are you?
I'm doing well here in wet and snowy Cincinnati.
Wet and snowy Cincinnati. You got the Christmas decorations up. You got the full season thing going on. I love it. What's going on? Let's get right to the issue at hand.
Yeah, so this one's a doozy. It stumped all the group text, so hopefully you can provide some insight for us.
So you sent this to the group chat, and is it divided?
No, not a single person can tell me what the heck is going on, so I'm wondering if you might be able to.
So you came to me. Okay, so let's hear it. Hit that clock. Let's get into it.
All right. So here's the sitch. There's this guy at work that I've always had a crush on. I've known him for just over a year now. And this summer, we got a lot closer playing on intramural sports team together. So we ended up playing volleyball later throughout the summer and into the fall. And, I think we're like having a pretty good vibe. We're flirting at the games. And so I'm like, all right, finally, played the long game. Let's do this thing. So
hold on, I have a question before we get too far ahead. This is a work guy.
Mm-hmm.
As far as work is concerned, what do you guys work together? Is he a senior? Is he a junior? What's going on?
Yeah, so he's at the same level as me, but we're in very different parts of the organization. So we work together, but not really ever interact in the daily work life.
So same company,
Mm-hmm.
different stuff at the company. So there's never a point where you have to interact with him at work other than passing by in the hallway.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. My other question is you said it's an intramural league. I didn't even know that was something that was allowed this summer, the intramural sports?
Yes, it was in Cincinnati. So I guess they let us do it.
Okay, that's why we're locked in the house now.
Yeah,
okay,
probably.
So is the intramural team connected to work in any way?
It is all people from work, but across different functions and everything. So it's people that just they knew each other from different clubs and things like that within the company and decided to make this volleyball team.
So let's call it the cool kids at work.
Mm-hmm.
There's an email that goes out, hey, we're starting an intramural team. And it goes around, and a bunch of people from the same office just sign up for a random intramural league.
Yeah.
Okay, and you've had flirty interactions with him all season long. Are there flirty interactions at work?
No, we never see each other, so we don't have that. The opportunity doesn't present itself.
So give me the first instance where you guys you kind of felt that this was more than just, how does that happen? Where does this begin?
Yeah, so we were at the team had a little like barbecue. I think there was only 6 of us there, and we're playing board games, and like we keep doing the funny, like witty banter, competitive. And so I was like, this guy's pretty cute. So at the first volleyball game, I asked another girl on the team that knows him better because they work closer together, and I asked if he has a girlfriend. And so once I confirm that there's nobody standing in my way, we kind of are like, we sit out at the same time, so we're like catching up, and we like during the game we're like giving each other crap. So it's like very much like what I thought was happening at the barbecue like was confirmed through like further interactions.
Got it. So when you find out he has no girlfriend or no significant other, you're like, okay, now I'm going to dig into this flirt game every time we see each other. Now it's a little, all the banter, all that stuff. Okay, so where do we go from here? Do you exchange numbers at any point?
Yeah, so we had our phone numbers from like the team. He had like a group text coordinated for what time the game was every week. So that had already happened. And then we also are connected on Snapchat. So he'll like every once in a while like respond to a Snapchat, like if I'm golfing and be like, how'd you hit him? Like, so we kind of start this like chatting outside of volleyball, but I don't take Snapchat very seriously. So I didn't put too much weight on that.
No, but he's reaching out. I get it.
Yeah. So after one game, we like had some drinks and got a little carried away and decided to go get a nightcap. And then that got a little carried away and like ended up having a little hookup sesh at the house. So that's where I really was like, okay, this dude is definitely picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah. Okay. You're like, wait a minute. We did French kiss. Maybe he gets it now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, like this is a thing, like let's go. So the next week at volleyball, we're like, just like nothing changed. Like we didn't talk about it, but we didn't like ignore the fact that that had happened. And so we're like, bantering all this stuff. And I'm like, I gotta find a way to like text this guy. Like I need an excuse to have a conversation. And it turns out our football teams were playing each other. So I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. Like I'm gonna send him a text message and just start a conversation and see what happens. So I think we have the screenshots here. I don't know if you want to.
So let's read the text. We can bring them up. I'll be him, you be you.
Okay. So I texted him, hey, are we? Sorry, go ahead.
So sorry to interrupt, but let's start at Sunday, 2:05. Okay.
Yep.
So your game was a 4:00 game, I'm guessing.
Yep. Yeah.
So we got a 4:00 game. You sent a text at 2. Okay.
Yep. Hey, are we taking bets on this game? If the Bengals lose by less than 8, you buy me a drink. If they lose by more than 8, I'll buy you a drink.
Ha ha. Only betting on losses.
I assumed if we won, you would just be so sad that you never talk to me again. Ha ha.
Ha ha. Oh, stop.
So it's a bet. I may have picked the Steelers in my pick'em, but I like my odds here.
Ha ha ha. I'm going to sit this one out.
Boring, haha, but may the best team win.
Yes, will be a good game. So now, after the game, or this is kind of towards the end of the game, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. So I said the NFL should really have a run rule for poor saps like us.
Ha ha, it was a bit depressing to watch. They gave up like 10 plays in.
So very Cincinnati of them. I managed to make it through the start of the 4th before I gave up and turned on a movie, but sounds like I didn't miss anything.
LOL, they just did not want to play today.
So I say maybe 12-21 will be our day, haha, because that's the next time they play.
So it was between your team and his team. Mm-hmm. You were great. Let me just start by saying I loved how positive, fun, you brought up the drinks, you're getting into something that he's into. You guys share that as an interest. I think there's nothing wrong, but his vibe seems stiff army. Is this normally his vibe over text, or did this feel a little off? Because it feels he's not giving you the same energy that you're giving him, in my opinion.
Yeah, so we haven't like texted that much, but based on all interactions, like it was definitely weird. Like Snapchat interactions, like all sorts of things. Like it was very much like I did not expect him just to do like straight shutdown. Like he could have come up with like, haha, like you can just buy me lunch at work sometime, like anything. Like it didn't have to be a drink, like or get into that situation. It was very bizarre. So I'm like ready to take the loss after that conversation.
Okay, so then what happens?
So I fall asleep Sunday night. I'm like, you know what? This guy's not interested. Like, sucks, but whatever. Like, gonna take the loss. So I wake up Monday morning, and the very first thing I look at when I see my phone is that he started sharing his Apple Watch activity with me.
Yeah. Okay, so for those that don't know, Apple Watch, you can share your fitness activity with like a group of people, and you can kind of like compete in steps and workout and whatever's on there. You can kind of like keep track with friends, but you have to like accept the group, right?
Yeah. And I'm like, this is a pretty intimate thing. Like, my mom and I share our activity. So I can like tell when she
Sure.
went on a walk. So I'm like, what? Like,
Did
what
you
made
ever
you?
talk about this fitness stuff?
Yeah, volleyball, we'd always be like, hey, did you start your watch? Like, did you lock the workout? So like it kind
Mm,
of was like inside-y joke-ish, but like you had to like go to his phone and find my name and like add me on the activity.
sure. There's an effort level there. I understand that.
Yeah.
So how long ago was that, and where do we stand today?
So that was 2 weeks ago. Like Sunday night, Sunday was the game. Monday morning, he adds his activity. And as soon as I accept, he competes against me in a challenge. So I'm
Yeah,
like, what? Like, that is an active reach out for somebody that you clearly just tried
sure.
to put in the friend zone. So I'm like, I'm going to win this competition. Like, no way does this guy stand a chance. So I am not kidding. Like, every day at lunch, I'll walk like 4 or 5 miles. Like, I'm like dancing in my bedroom trying to get steps. Like, and I won. So I'm like, yes, like he's got to say something. Like, dang, you're a good competition. And then he doesn't say anything. And like the next morning after the
Interesting.
competition ends, it's like, you won a contest. And then he just like challenges me to another one.
Yeah, I kind of okay. Interesting. So that's kind of where we are now. We're in challenge
So I
competition
didn't
zone,
accept the second challenge because I like was bending over backwards trying to win the first one. And so I'm
and he
like,
didn't
I'm
even
just gonna
give you.
no, he didn't say anything. But then yesterday he sends me another challenge. Like I'm I have no idea.
So okay, I have an idea of what's going on. If we can stop the clock, because I don't want to run out of our time here. So your question now is like, what's going on, right?
Yes.
Okay. Katie, I like you. I love how excited you are. I like your positivity because that's what dating needs, and you're up for it. And it's funny when someone's positive, and I say this all the time on the podcast, when you're positive and honest, it's always going to feel weird when the other person isn't honest. And that's where we are now. You are sitting here going, we made out. We had fun. We like the same things. What's up? And I can feel that on you, and that's so great. And there's only two answers to the question. Yes, I'm down, or no, I'm out. And he's not doing either of those. He's doing the path of, for him, what feels like the least resistance, which is to stand pat and not do anything. So here's what I think is happening. I think he has fun flirting with you. I think it's very evident to me that that text was a we should do drinks text, and he ran away from that. I think
Mm-hmm.
you're saying he put you in the friend zone. I wouldn't say that much. I think a lot of people want a black and white answer to their problem where with like, but like is on a spectrum. So right now, you guys he and also you work together. Also, your whole team is made up of work people. So there is a big step to be taken from, oh, you guys seem like you flirt, to I heard you guys are dating. So I and you're ready for that. You're happy to do that. And I love that. To me, it feels like he's holding back from that. He wants to stay in this zone of no responsibility, which is just fun and jokey. And I like that you turn down the next challenge because you're like, hey, you're not even being fun about this fun and jokey thing. You're trying to keep me below a certain level of because the hard part is it's not, again, to repeat it, it's not black or white. He's not going, I don't like her, I don't think she's attractive. He's saying, I like her, I think she's attractive, but this next step for me is a big one where it's like, oh, we have to date now, because all these things run out of time. You and him at intramural has run out of time. You and him flirty banter has run out of time, because you're going, what next? And most people wonder when they're ready to go and figure it out and figure out what we could be, is like, what's next? And he doesn't want to know what's next. He wants the land of no responsibility, which lives in, oh, we just kind of flirt sometimes, and sometimes we'll make out, and that's about it. Like, that's a place where he doesn't have to answer any questions, because that's why you're asking me. Because you know he doesn't owe you an explanation. He's just, I guess he's put me in the friend zone. But I think the only way out of this is a very tough move. And I know, because you have put yourself out there. You have given it a shot. You do enjoy, it seems, the back and forth you have, but there's a point with the back and forth and the witty banter where that becomes annoying, because you're like, are we in Groundhog's Day? Like, when's this ever going to like break through to the next level? And he might be only up for this level. And again, he's not making you a friend. He's keeping you as an option for flirting, for, being this level of casual on his time. So I think you have to, there's a couple options. One, you got to back away. And if you're done like making efforts, which is totally fine. If you were like, I've tried enough, I want to be courted, I understand that. That's a totally fair thing to say. You got to stop with the texting. You got to keep turning down his challenges and whatever it might be. And to the point where he goes, and if he really cares, he'll go, what the fuck? Why are you turning down my challenge? Hey, we kind of flirted. And then there's a reasonable explanation that you can go, well, we were kind of flirting. We made out that one night. I wanted to do the bet about the drink. That was my way of saying I'd love to do a drink. It kind of felt like, and then you challenged me. You didn't even have fun with that. You didn't even congratulate me on the win. It's kind of weird. So I kind of felt, I kind of got unattracted to that. You could say that. That's one option. The other option is, hey, I'm kind of annoyed. And you say it in a fun way where it's like, hey, I'm kind of annoyed. You challenged me. I beat you. You didn't say anything. You keep turning down my drink offers. We made out that one time. I'm looking to get a drink if you are. But I'm letting you know now, this is kind of a last opportunity to do that, because I'm becoming unattracted to it. And I keep saying it this way, where I'm becoming unattracted to it, is to let them know this is a land of romance. This is the land of romantic. You're not here to be friends. You're here because you are attracted to him. And if and this behavior is turning you off, because to me, it would turn me off. I'd be like, I keep putting myself out there and you're letting me out, leaving me to hang. I'm hanging out to dry. So there's a point where you have to go, okay, we've done the fun thing. You've had your chance. And listen, none of this is personal to you, Katie. And I think that's the thing you always have to remember is like, listen, he's got his own shit going on. We don't know what dating apps he's on. We don't know about exes. All we know is that you guys have fun interactions when you're in person. So we don't know this. You have the tip of the iceberg. So for you, it's like, and you have this work thing where eyes are on you. Not to say people don't care about you guys, but you're something to look at that's not themselves. So at work, people just concentrate on the workplace romances and it becomes a thing. So that's him being like, so there are other things going on. It's not like he's going, fuck Katie, friend zone Katie. He's going, how do I keep this fun interaction without, making myself deeper into something? And that's kind of what he's playing right now. So you have options. I'm sorry. I always feel like I'm the bearer of bad news, but I know what he's doing. And it's funny that you brought it to the group chat and they're like, we have no idea. No. It's hard to have an idea when someone is actively in this like vague area of I'm attracted to you, but I'm not willing to make the effort based on my attraction.
Yeah, that was like what I expected, but it's helpful because it's like, I mean, what the heck? Like the low touch it, like just bizarre.
No, but you're making such fantastic effort. And listen, I'm not saying like I don't think a lot, sometimes I get messages and emails like, I don't want to look like I'm being too much, I think you're being the perfect amount. You're making yourself available. You're being excited. You're being fun. And it's like, you have to, at a certain point, you go, well, why wouldn't this guy want to have fun? Oh, he wants to not have to move. That is, some people are like, it's just a date. To him, this is a date. This is a different version of what we are. So do you feel helped, Katie? I hope I helped.
Yes, that's very helpful.
Thank you, Katie, for coming on. This is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the time.
We just left Katie. That was fantastic to have her on. A tough issue. These are hard things to do. These are hard decisions to make. And listen, I feel that guy's side in this, and it's a kind of an icky side because you're like, we're sitting here talking to Katie, and I'm like, yeah, go on the fucking date. But listen, you could send in your event sesh issue to jtrainpodcast@gmail.com, jtrainpodcast@gmail.com. Title event sesh. If you want to come on the show, give it the title event sesh so we know to reach out to you. And let's go to our next guest. Bettina, come on out. Bettina,
Hello.
What's happening?
Not much. How are you?
I'm good. And you're coming to us from Grand Rapids. Thank you for coming on. Let's get right to it. Let's hit it. What's your issue?
Great. Thanks for having me. So my issue I guess the title of my question was, am I giving off a no kids vibe? The reason I'm asking this is because I've started seeing somebody about 2 months ago. And about a month in, the question of, what are you looking for in your future at some point came up, kind of like a five-year plan-ish. I said that at some point I would like to have children and get married. And that was met with the response of, oh, okay. I've never felt drawn to having children myself. I've never dated anyone that also wanted kids, so it's never been an issue. This guy did say, like, since I've never had to deal with it, just let me kind of think about it. Like, give me a little bit to just kind of to think about it. So I said, okay, that's fine. It sounds positive. I went along with it. So then the next week he was a little distant, more distant than usual.
Mm-hmm.
And we hung out the week after, the weekend after. And I was visibly a little bit annoyed just because he wasn't really responding as much. He canceled a couple times. And he kind of said, like, I'm still kind of feeling it out, but it just didn't feel as positive as it had felt earlier.
How long had you been seeing each other when this came up?
We'd been seeing each other about a month, but we knew each other we weren't like friends in college, but we knew each other in college, and then just recently reconnected about like 2 months ago. So we'd been seeing each other about a month.
Via how? How do you guys get back together?
He DM'd me on Instagram.
Got it.
Yeah.
And did you go on dates? Was it casual? How were the hangouts?
Yeah, they were. So I would say, like, he's a pretty like intentional and a little like more on the serious side of a guy. So he's not like just kind of he didn't seem like let's just hang out and see where it goes kind of guy. We went on some dates. Since everything shut down in Michigan, we did some like movie nights in. But I mean, everything was pointing like to a really great direction. So when this happened, it was such a stark change that I was kind of like, well, this seems like this was the deal breaker, which it might be, but yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's interesting to me that you're having this great interaction. You're getting into each other, as far as like you're emotionally connecting in a certain way, I'm sure. And this conversation where you say about the future, and he says, when you said, oh, I'd like to get married and have kids, you kind of, and listen, to each their own. Anyone can want to get married and have kids. There could be people that don't want to get married. I'm not here to say what direction of life is right or wrong, and I don't think you're saying that. But to respond to, I'd like to get married and have kids. Was he surprised to hear that, or was for him to say? And you said something very specific. You go, he's never dated someone who wanted to get married and have kids, like. I think that's a little hard for me to believe. Also, it's a little hard for me to think that someone in this society that we live in today operates on a kind of like in a reality that everyone who would he'd be dating would be similar to that that type. I would assume more people want to get married and have kids than don't.
Yeah, and that's kind of where it was a little like I was kind of uncomfortable then because it did kind of seem like he was surprised. And then I was, also shocked that he had like never dated anyone that wanted kids. Because that just seems, I don't know. I mean, I don't know everyone's dating history. Some people don't date a lot, but that just did seem a little
Sure.
odd to me. But I would, so this instance alone wouldn't make me as questioning as I have been. But I was seeing a guy earlier this year, and ultimately we ended things because he also said he didn't want to have kids. He never dated anyone that wanted kids, and he like just couldn't see that in his future, and knew that I didn't either. So it's like 0 for 2 this year on me dating.
Well, I got you. It is just, to me, it's quite like, listen, the very easy response, and I'm sure we'll see, because people get very, I've had this subject come up on podcasts before, and there's a community of people that don't want kids that get very upset to hear any judgment of that. And I'm not judging those people.
No.
And I don't think you are, Bettina, but I want to make sure that we start in that judgment comes. I understand that they don't like being judged because that sucks, and it's your right to say I don't want to have kids. But we have to live with the numbers at hand. There are more people in this country that go, if you're out there dating, there's more people that are out there dating to find someone to marry and have kids with than there are not. So we can't sit here going, like, for you to have two guys back to back that are like, kids, you, me, like, that's, to me, they're acting in the exception and not the normal.
Mm-hmm.
So how long were you with the last guy?
We, like, all together from meeting to end was about 6 months. And that one, like, he kind of alluded, he didn't really make that known until we were already a few months into it. So I felt a little pulled around, but
Sure.
But then, I mean, I kind of went introspective and tried to say, okay, I'm the common denominator in this situation. So is it something that I'm giving off? I mean, I'm 28. I own my own house. I have a job. So like, I feel like to the naked eye, I might seem kind of established in a way. And maybe that vibe might be coming off. I don't know. But
what type of dudes were these guys? Like, are they, artists? Were they, people working, white collar, blue collar? What was their background?
Both both white collar sort of professions. Okay. Yeah, and both, kind of like I mentioned, the one guy, like, they both were more like intentional and more like on the serious scale, not really like kind of just hanging out type of guys. It seemed like they both were more intentional about their decisions.
They're asking you on dates, and it was very much, we're going on a couple dates and this is getting more serious over time type of thing.
Yeah.
See, because there was a piece of me that was like, well, Grand Rapids is this like kind of like, very like kind of liberal, crunchy town. There was a piece of me that, because I know I've been to Grand Rapids before, so I'm like, okay, are these the guys that are hanging out at the brewery with a huge beard and they're kind of living on the outskirts of things? Like, maybe it's the type of guy you're seeing, but that's not the case. Yeah, to me, and I think there's really only one explanation to this, and I think anyone living in extremes, I have the opinion that they're trying to sell you on something. So I think to say, like, I find it very peculiar that anyone could be on a couple months in with someone and go, you want kids in the future 5 years from now? Like, to me, that is someone using something very serious to get out of something that they don't want to really give the real reason to. Like, I like, to me, it's okay, let me put up this, because this is what happens. They use this version of morality where it's like you can't really disagree with it. You can't, and just like you said, the last guy I felt little pulled around by. Why would he bring that up so late? To me, that the only reason you bring up the thing that no one can disagree with so that you can get out of the thing that could be disagreed with. Like this guy that gets through to you on a DM and you guys go on dates and he seems very serious and you're like, oh, this is going in the right direction. And I'm letting myself kind of get into this situation with this guy. And then he sees there's a little bit of an emergency ripcord to it where it's like, oh, kids, now I have a reason to be weird. Now I have a reason to kind of get out of this thing that the only other way to explain it would be to go, well, I got a little too serious too quick, and maybe that was my way of flirting, and that's not really fair to you. Like that's because whenever I see something like this, when you're not admitting to the reality of everyday people, you can do whatever you want. But the reality of everyday people is most people are on dating apps to find someone to get married to and have kids with and grow old and get a house and do all these normal things. It's easy nowadays to be like, well, don't respect my version. And it's like, you can respect someone's version of how they want to live their life, but also it's very easy to use those things as a shield. Can we stop the clock for 2 seconds? That's the only thing, because when I'm looking at you, I'm not looking at you being like, you didn't come in here, we didn't get on this camera interview from a backyard, under, lights, and it doesn't look like you're coming to me from a Fish concert. Like I would assume that you seem like a nice person, you're good looking, you have a nice home. Like I would be like, okay, nothing seems abnormal or like kind of counterculture. You have a nose ring, but like that's not like like a lot of people have nose rings. So that's not. I don't look at a nose ring and go, well, that person doesn't want to have a baby. So I don't think I always appreciate when someone goes to me, because I do that too. I'm like, okay, what did I do? What can I change to make this all change? But to me, these seem like kind of easy excuses to get out of something that got too serious too soon for them.
Okay.
Because if you're a month in and listen, having that conversation about 5 years from now, that's a normal conversation to have a month in with someone. Oh, do you want to have kids? And then to get so weird after that, as if your answer is somehow insanity. That's not fair.
Yeah. Because I wasn't like, I want to have them like in 1 year. Like I think I said, at some point in the future, like not tomorrow. I was pretty clear on I'm not looking to do that like ASAP. So
yeah. I'm with you. I don't think you did anything wrong. I think you just came across certain dudes. I think also when you meet someone, again, they're taking you on dates. So like, I think right now with the ease of access to people, where the situation that how'd you meet the guy that was before this guy? Tinder. Well, I just think like in this world right now where it's easy to find people to date, there is this thing where this type of guy is using the internet to be out there more than they could have if the internet didn't exist. So like this guy who uses DM, he would have had to have been out at a bar, been out with people, and really made a certain type of effort to be able to get in front of you for 4 dates in another time. And it's like nowadays he doesn't have to do that, and he could come in quick with, first date, second date, third date, we're on the couch, oh, let's hang out together, and then make decisions. And then when he made the decision, I think what he did was he goes, baby? In what world? To me, you got to keep doing what you're doing, and I think you're better off without these guys if they're going to use that, because that, again, there's another way to go about this where they go, oh, of course you want a kid. I just like if someone is getting into relationships with people and being a month in with them and knows this about themselves, that's something they should let their partner know.
How early is like too early for that conversation?
I don't think there's such a thing
Okay.
as too early. I think like, but to me, if I was in your shoes, I would be surprised that they didn't bring it up.
If it was such a
You know,
deal
like,
breaker for them. Yeah.
yeah, if this was such a thing for you, like the idea that they're operating in a world, this is why I think it's an excuse, is because the idea that they're operating in a world where wanting kids and to get married and have kids is the exception. That means they're lying, because they're lying about reality. And so I have to wonder, what's the lie for? And to me, it's an excuse to end something that was good, but not, the match that they were looking for. But they were afraid to, say that. But Tina, do you feel helped? You're going to be a beautiful mother one day, I promise you.
Not anytime soon, but thank you.
But Tina, thank you for coming on. There we go. 2 real people, 2 real problems. Those are real issues, real people. If you have a situation, send it in. jtrainpodcast@gmail.com. Title Event Sesh so we know to reach out to you. And get subscribed to this channel. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the little bell in the corner. That gets you updates when we do a new episode. We'll be back next week. Boom.